Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I'm your librarian, Katrina, and on Sundays I do a thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. I know I'm a little subdued today. It's a combination of having not slept well last night and then waking up and seeing what was happening in Australia. I know I don't usually do political commentary on here, but damn. It's pretty horrible. And I know that there are people out there going, oh, they just need more gun control laws, which Australia already has very strict gun control laws. It literally just proves the point that criminals don't care. They will find a way, and innocent people suffer because the government can't protect everybody. Sometimes you got to protect yourself. Get off that soapbox. Let's get on to this week's book. This month we're looking at how power silences victims, making this week's book, this month we're looking at Lead Me Where the Light Is Ours by N. Galilea. The accompanying cocktail is a devil in disguise, which is 2 ounces of honey whiskey, 1¼ ounce of espresso liqueur, a sugar cube, and 2 dashes of chocolate bitters. So let's do this. My sugar cube is actually just going to be a teaspoon of granulated sugar because I did not go and buy sugar cubes because I have to buy a whole box for one thing. It makes sense when really it's just a teaspoon of sugar. So I'm going to put the teaspoon in there. This book was a bit of a mixed bag for me. It really was. I wanted to really like it, and I'm not at all sure that I do. But let's talk about the good stuff. We're going to start with the good stuff, go into the stuff that was a little more confusing, and end with how revisions might be better. All right, like if she wanted to do a second revision or whatever. First off, the author is not wrong. All right, when she says we have a crisis with the clergy, it is absolutely appalling that priests are allowed to rape children, and the Catholic Church just moves them to a new district. This has actually been going on and is a well-known fact for a lot. You know what? I'm going to add the ice and see if I can get some of the sugar off of my little muddler here. No, I can't. I'm going to figure out how to get the sugar off of the bottom of that. She's not wrong. So she's not wrong. All right. It's disgusting that when Jorge Mario Bergoglio stepped into the papal throne on March 13th, 2013, taking the name Pope Francis, he promoted two highly influential positions known child rapists, like known. All right. These were not people who had gone subtly under the radar and nobody knew what was up. There were known complaints of abuses by these individuals in the districts they were from. Some cases they were already known to the, oh, there we go. Rinse that off in there. Perfect. That worked. All right. They were known quantities, and he ignored those reports. He ignored global protests in some cases to promote them anyways. That's disgusting. All right. One of them was Cardinal George Pell, who was from Australia. Also, as I just said, in the news today, but for a completely different religious extremism. I'm not multitasking well today. So he was promoted, Cardinal Pell was promoted to the financial office of the Vatican. Juan Barros became the Bishop of Osorno, Chile, both of whom had serious scandals behind them. Chile rioted in some cases. The reaction to Cardinal Pell was considerably more muted, but still there. People were still like, what the fuck, dude? Why would you promote this guy? He's a known child rapist. I'm not sure anyone noticed. Outside of the countries that were involved, Australia, Chile, the author noticed because she found a random news report from 60 Minutes Australia with an interview with Cardinal Pell and how he handled some of these abuses and allegations, and it was pretty appalling. Let me shake this up. Galilea, goes through and finds citations and quotations from some of these victims and their families, and how Australia in the 1960s and 70s was a very bad place to be a Catholic child because the abuses were barely even hidden. I mean, they were more or less right out there. Like the cardinals, or not the cardinals, the priests would take their preferred children with them to seminaries and retreats and just kind of switch them off. So they take 2 or 3 with them so they have options over their weekend. And we're talking young. They were young kids, like 5, 6 years old, young. Not unlike the child brides in Islam. Just saying. I'm going to throw that out there right now. I have a serious hate on for Islam right now because of all the things going on in the world. Outside of that, outside of the authors catching it randomly, it's like nobody seems to care, at least not in the United States, right? This isn't anything that is blowing up any skirts. We've known about it for a while. South Park has done a couple of episodes mocking the clergy, and
I love Jesus!
it's a punchline.
Your local priest was never here, actually.
Yeah, he was. I played with him.
Oh, you did? Better get the cumby.
For a lot of people, except for the people who lived it, obviously. The author does reference another work of hers, the Galilea report, which I gather from this book goes into a bit more detail regarding 4 specific sections that experienced horrific abuse at the hands of priests, namely Australia, Chile, Ireland, and Boston, USA. She does get back to Australia, Chile, and Ireland. Interestingly enough, she doesn't directly mention Boston in here. She mentions Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all right, and lawsuits that went on there. So it was confusing. She's not wrong on any of that, all right? This is all awful and heartbreaking that children go through this, and the church condones it, and nothing is ever done about it. Because the church, long-standing tradition, is simply moving the problem priest from the district where the complaints have been made, putting them beyond the ability of the law to touch, all right? So if they remove a priest from Boston and send him to Ireland, for example, all right? And so nothing is ever done. Let's try this. Yeah, I knew I'd like it. Honey whiskey is really good anyways, but yeah, you throw in the wee bit of chocolate and that espresso, just devil in disguise indeed. And whenever someone complains or files a police report, the Catholics, in addition to shuffling the priest off, quietly offers the complaining family a very insulting $50,000 in hush money. Because it all comes with NDAs, right? You don't just get the money and then still get to make a press report and go public with it. If you accept the money, you sign an NDA as to why you're accepting the money. And rather than just, defrocking the guilty party and leaving him to face secular justice, they offer hush money, sweep it under the rug. They got to keep up that appearance that the Catholic Church is pristine white. All of these are valid points. The author is right to point them out. And then it kind of goes off the rails here. And the author spends the rest of the book trying to describe her attempts to get a media personality to care about this problem, which was incredibly frustrating to read about. I'm sure it was frustrating for the author too, right? Trying to ring the alarm bell, and everybody's like, well, yes, there's smoke over there, but it's not burning down my house, so I don't care, right? And I get that. Frustrating, totally. It was frustrating to read about. It must have been even more frustrating to live through. But I found myself baffled as to why she didn't just ring the bell herself. Why was she so dead set on finding somebody else to care about it? And near as I can tell, she has, because I did look, she has absolutely no social media presence except maybe Instagram. And I say that because I'm fairly certain the author is the one who recommended this book to me. And she at one point had Twitter because she talks about trying to reach John F., who is, I believe, John Fugelsang, author of the book I'm reading at the end of this month, and Mark Hamill on Twitter. Why these two? Well, I believe at first she had a friendly rapport with John Fugelsang, which turned sour when he did not respond to her panic over the church situation as she would have liked him to. Now, this is inferred from context in the book. I don't know what was actually said between the two of them because she does not include receipts in the form of screenshot tweets or messages between them. So it's just her impressions that he wasn't responding. And we only have Galilea's side of the story here. We don't know what Fugelsang's side of the story would be. We don't know that she actually had anything more than a waving hello, like a passing waving hello to him, because again, no receipts. There's nothing to say that any of this was more than her own attempts that were ignored because he's got a larger Twitter following than she does. And when she doesn't get the reaction she wants from John F., she starts looking for somebody else to spread the word of the abuse she's compiled from news stories, and she focuses on Mark Hamill. Yes, Mark Hamill, Star Wars Mark Hamill. This isn't a different Mark Hamill. It's Mark Hamill from Star Wars. Why? Well, as near as I can tell, because she's a fan of the latest Star Wars trilogies, or at least the first two, she seemed to absolutely bash what was the last one? Was it The Last Jedi? I think that was it. I don't know. Yeah. She liked the first two, hated the last one. Rey was I don't know. I'm more of an original trilogy person myself. I pretty much hated the sequels. I thought they were all just a nostalgia grab, and then they Mary Sued the shit out of Rey so that she was totally uninteresting as a character. Royally fucked Finn. He could have been the best character of the entire series, but they just shuffled him into being a bit part because girl power. To each their own. She loved it. She found something in Rey that she thought was worth emulating. Great. Difference between Gen X and millennials, I guess, right? But she saw Hamill was retweeting John F. and believed that the two were going to have a sit-down interview soon. And this She felt like it was her job to notify Hamill that John F. didn't care. About what? I'm not sure. Maybe about the abuses of the church. It's not real clear, just comes across as garden variety cancel culture. John F. is a bad guy, you shouldn't associate with him. But doesn't really say why, other than he didn't respond the way that she wanted him to. And then she becomes disillusioned with Hamill simply because he doesn't respond at all. Like, there's no indication that he even saw her direct messages, which was unhinged to me because the man has 4.6 million Twitter followers. There is not one indication that he ever saw her messages, and most likely did not. I mean, hell, his Twitter page even says, I ignore all DMs. So getting mad at him for not responding was just weirdly entitled to me. I was like, why would he? He doesn't know you from Adam. You're just one of the 4.6 million fans who have probably all messaged him at some point, trying to get his attention. Very odd. Then she started insisting that news channels needed a religion division. Heartily disagree with that one. The press is routinely referred to as the fourth estate. You've got the congressional critters, you've got the House of Representatives and the Senate, you've got the president, you've got the judiciary. The press is supposed to be the fourth estate. All right. And if you want separation of church and state, then the press does not need its own religion division. And besides which, totally irrelevant, they already have a division that would cover this. It's called the crime beat. Every newspaper, news station, every fucking political commentator out there has a crime division, all right? They will all have something that covers the crime beat. What was happening with the church was not a problem of religion. It's not actually encoded in the Bible anywhere that men can rape children as they see fit. That is not part of Catholic doctrine as far as I know. It's a criminal matter. Every news channel has a crime desk. So rather than repeating over and over again, they need a religious beat, why didn't she focus on contacting the crime beat of her chosen station and saying, what about this? I've compiled this list of facts and data. Why don't you do a story on this? Don't know. She doesn't address the crime beat at all. Instead, she comes up with this synchronistic belief that the answer lay in the stars. Astrology, to be precise. Which I just finished listening to Troubled Blood by, Robert Galbraith. So if you've ever read any of his stories, especially if you read that book, you know that astrology plays a interesting part in it. And so I was like, really? That is weirdly synchronistic for my own personal reading right now. Based off this incredibly small sample size of two people on a planet of 7 billion, John F., who is apparently an earth sign, and Mark Hamill, who is an air sign, she decided that she needed a water sign because she's a fire sign, Sagittarius. And so she needed a water sign to care, I guess. And good news, she found one, Jake Tapper, all right, who in 1 year tweeted 30 times about what was going on with the Catholic Church, which I gotta say, after just a quick Google search, I do not see this as a sign from God that she did, because a basic Google search for how many tweets per year by Jake Tapper shows that he is a high user of Twitter, like high. Roughly 16,740 tweets averaged per year. That is a lot of time on Twitter, which means that his 30 in 1 year on this one topic was less than 1% of all of his tweets in 1 year. It is even less than that if you take his lifetime use. But seeing that seemed to relieve the author that someone other than her cared about the child sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, and it just kind of peters out from here. She goes on to repeat some of the story of the foster family in Australia, and what happened to them is absolutely heartbreaking. The two of their daughters were raped at very young ages, like 5, 6 years old. One of them committed suicide, and the other one is on lifetime care. I think it may have been a failed suicide attempt, but regardless, she's no longer able to care for herself, and the family was just ignored and forgotten by the Catholic Church. They were offered the payout. The family rejected it in favor of going public with the police, and it's heartbreaking. It is. So she's not wrong about that. She's not wrong about the horror there. But it was very confusing and frantic, and I didn't get why she tried so much to make other people, why she tried so much to get somebody bigger than her to pay attention, all right? Which is so ass backwards to the American way, man. I mean, you can't make people care about something as much as you do. And I was aware of the sexual predators that infect the Catholic Church because I do pay attention to the news stories and because, well, South Park.
Drop everything. Police can detect even a milligram of common rectal blood.
Mentioned them earlier, right? They've done more to bring attention to this matter with several targeted episodes based on very dark humor, but targeted episodes, than the author did by running around frantically like a Chicken Little screaming that the sky is falling. I mean, a better way to handle something you care deeply about is to stop passing over the information to qualified individuals. It was absolutely stunning to me that she acknowledges the mainstream media has fallen down over this one, yet she continuously searches for someone in mainstream media she can pass the story over to. I was equally baffled by her reverence for Rey from The Force Awakens as a heroine worthy of emulation. And I personally would have gone for Ripley from Alien because she just kicks ass from the word go, or Sarah Connor, who saw a problem and turned herself into a one-woman ass-kicking machine ready to take on the entire, robot army, which we're really determined to make happen. I've seen that movie. It doesn't end well for humanity, all right? They keep making more of them because it doesn't end well for humanity. But hey, if you have a heroine that is, as an example, right? You want to emulate this heroine. Why on earth would you pass the information over to someone else to be the hero? Why would you choose not to be the hero in your own story? I didn't get that. And I can practically hear the author whining, well, I'm not a professional journalist. Well, that's an excuse. I'm not a professional book reviewer either. I do this for funsies, all right? Yes, I'm expanding my mind. I can actually speak quite competently well on a wide variety of topics now because of the books I've read. But I'm not a professional book reviewer. I'm certainly not getting paid for this. I do this for the lulz, if you will. So that's an excuse, all right? And a really pathetic one if you're as concerned with the well-being of children as you profess to be. And I believe she really is. I believe she is genuinely horrified by what's going on with the abuse of children in the Catholic Church. Fair. This is the crusade you want to go on, and it's a worthy one. It absolutely is a worthy one. It's a bullshit excuse saying you're not a professional journalist. We're in the 21st century. Anyone can build their own platform and become an expert. And you do not need a college degree to be an expert. All you need is focus on a topic that you care about. Create your own platform, create a website, create a social media presence. And yeah, you're going to get fucking harassed because people are assholes, all right? I have received a number of very delightful comments from people on my YouTube channel calling me a racist and a bigot because I don't toe whatever party line they feel is relevant. Grow a thicker skin and shrug it off. Start to meditate. Meditation actually helps tremendously on that one, especially if you know you're on the side of the angels. And I do believe that spreading information, knowing what is good and what is not, is on the side of the angels. And this is good information. She should. And I genuinely hope that she didn't get mad at me and stop watching because there is good information in here. Not good as in, oh, yay, this happened. Good as in, she did research. She did verify her sources. She has pages and pages of news sources that she cited and referred back to at the very end of the book. And that's worthy. That's good. That should be followed up on. But stop trying to get somebody else to give a damn about it. Nobody's going to care about it as much as you do because this is your passion project. Own it. Create a website. Create that social media presence. Grow a thicker skin and learn to rebuff people who are assholes about it. And it's going to be small to start. You're going to have 1 or 2 followers. And eventually, though, you're going to build it up. Until you get that 1 in a million post that goes viral, and then suddenly you're in big news, right? And you're getting the calls from the mainstream media who've been ignoring the problem saying, wow, how did you come across this? And then you say, well, I've been tracking this for 30 damn years while you people were sleeping on the job. Here's how I know so much about it. And then you're in a position to publicly shame them for being assholes and not doing their job. It'll take a long time. But to quote another famous movie, if you build it, you will come. And guess what happens while you're building that platform? When you specialize, and I'm a generalist, obviously. I've read books across a wide spectrum, so I'm a generalist. I am not a specialist, all right? I jack of all trades, but master of none is sometimes better than master of one. Sometimes. Not always. And this is one of those times when it's not always. You become a master of the knowledge. It's a dark knowledge. And if that's your chosen path, God bless you for it, truly. because it's a dark topic to have live rent-free in your head for all of your life. But if you choose to master this topic, you become the expert that people come to and say, how did this happen? How did this go ignored? And then you could say, well, Cardinal Smith started out here, and when he raped children, he was moved to here, to here, to here. You could track their entire trajectory, and say, this is how it happened, because we, the people, ignored it and allowed the Catholic Church to hide these abuses. That's how you do it. A hell of a lot more useful than looking for a co-pilot you can hand the heroics over to. Be the hero of your own story. Don't be a bit player in somebody else's. You be the hero. You be Ray. Stop trying to find somebody else to do it for you. I mean, I really wanted to like this book because it takes a lot of guts to reach out to a stranger and ask them to review something that you poured your heart and soul into. And I get that, and I respect that. That is hard. But while the author raises some absolutely valid alarm bells regarding religion and abuse of minors in the Catholic Church, overall, this book was a confusing mess of why did she choose to do it in a way that virtually guaranteed she'd be ignored. And that's it for this week. I genuinely hope that she takes some of those critiques to heart and builds her platform. I'll be the first to follow it. All right. And when you share something worthy, I will share it on my medias, which is small. Again, I have a very small presence. I think I'm up to 541 followers. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. But I'm small, but I'll share what I got because this is a worthy cause. But you got to find a better way to communicate the message. This one was very confusing. And that's it for this week. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.